This is how you set up, inverted commas, your macros to always be lean as a cyclist. And if you're not a cyclist and you're just into fitness and health in general, then this is the way that you eat to always be lean, to lose weight and then be lean. And also, I hope you enjoy special guest birds. So let me know how many different types of bird species you see in this video. Anyway, so over there's some fatty seeds. So there's some foods that I don't recommend. So there's a good segue, isn't there? So I don't recommend fatty foods like that. So I think also, just to lay the groundwork, there's always it annoys me because I always see people get confused by it when people say they talk about their macros, okay, their macronutrients. So whenever I see people and they go, oh, I'm getting my protein and my carbs, and they specifically say like a food, like they might say they eat chicken for protein, for example. So first of all, I don't recommend eating animal products. So I recommend a vegan high carbohydrate or high sugar, low fat, low protein, because the sweet life is the good life. Okay, la dolce vita. And the misconception people say, they go, well, I'm eating my chicken for my protein. Okay, food contains the macros. Okay, so there's 5 macronutrients. There's water, fiber, carbohydrates, fats, and protein. So there's the 5 macronutrients. So I've got literally white table sugar here. So this literally is sugar. So that's literally a macronutrient. So that's sucrose. So that's fructose and glucose. So a simple sugar. So that literally is a macro. That right there, refined into a macro from either sugarcane or beetroot or sugar beet. So these are from vegetables. Sugar's refined from vegetable. So it's not made in a lab. It's taken from plants and turned into sugar. And then also you might have a bottle of oil. So maybe olive oil. So that literally is just a macronutrient. But if you're having food, like this, banana, for example, this isn't just carbohydrate. Okay, this is the natural multivitamin and multi-macronutrient vitamin, if you want to call it that. So this has water in it. This has fats in it, healthy fats. It's got healthy protein. It's got healthy carbohydrate and healthy fiber. So just saying I'm getting my carbohydrate and saying I'm eating this food, so that's not how it works. Okay, so I've got a bag of white rice here, empty bag. So I recommend foods like white rice. So always sticking to the formula of high carb, low fat, low protein. And also the foods that I'm recommending, you're also getting lots of fiber as well. And this is always the way you need to manipulate your macronutrients to always be lean. So first of all, always high carbohydrate. That never changes. So at least, I say at least half a kilo of carbohydrate a day, but really, so that probably works out to about 2,000 calories, because for every 1 gram of carbohydrate, you're getting about 4 calories. And about the same for protein, whereas fat, it's about 9. So if you're eating 500 grams of fat, for example, a day, you'd be getting well over 4,000 calories, whereas for 500 grams of carbohydrate a day is about 2,000 calories. So really, I would recommend more like 600-700 grams really. And if you're into cycling and fitness, obviously you're going to be increasing that more and more to keep up with the demand for ATP. So you always keep the baseline of carbohydrate high, and then it's the other macronutrients that you manipulate to change your weight. So if you want to gain weight, it's manipulating fat and protein. So if you want to gain weight, you increase fat and you increase protein. Carbohydrate is always high. And if you want to lose weight, carbohydrate still stays high, but you decrease fat and you decrease protein. Okay, so carbohydrate is always high. For gaining weight, it's high fat, high protein. Then for losing weight and staying lean, it's always still high carbohydrate, but low fat and low protein. So when I'm going to eat my bowl of rice, for example, for my dinner, let's say, I'm not just having a bowl of rice because it's just carbs. I'm just getting my carbs. And if I don't add chicken, I'm not getting my protein. Food has the range of macronutrients in it. But if you're talking particularly about animal products, these are usually the foods that are lacking in carbohydrate. But for example, chicken isn't just protein, it's lots of fat, okay? Whereas food like white rice, which I think is amazing, has all of the range of different macronutrients that you need in the ratio to be lean. So white rice is lean food, but it's not lacking in healthy fats, and it's not lacking in healthy protein, and it's not lacking in healthy minerals and vitamins. So if you're having food like white rice, you're going to get high carbohydrate and you're going to get low fat, low protein. So this right here, white rice, this therefore fits the formula for losing weight. Whereas if you're adding foods like chicken, let's say, because this is the high fat food, high fat, high protein food, therefore you're manipulating your weight to gain weight. And no, I don't recommend any calorie counting. Okay, the reason why you're counting calories is because you're probably eating the high fat, high protein foods. And the only way that you can then not gain weight essentially is you have to starve yourself with calories. So you're going to start going down this calories in, calories out model, which is just going to destroy your health in the long run. Because as soon as you're counting calories, okay, as soon as you know how many calories you're eating every day, you're going to destroy your health. So for me, I know that I'm eating at least 500 grams of carbohydrate, but really 600-700 grams at least. And then just on a day when I'm not even exercising. And then when I'm exercising, I'm having at least 100 grams of sugar an hour, and I'm not having extra fats and extra protein while I'm out riding, because again, if you want to always be lean, the foods that are low in fat and protein is what you want. I know these foods are not lacking in fat. So one of the fats that you get, the main fat that you get for in rice, for example, is omega fats. So if you want to load up your carbohydrate or sugar macro, and you want to keep your fat and protein macros low in order to lose weight and stay lean, this is how you manipulate the macronutrients. And there's other positive health consequences of living a high carbohydrate, low fat lifestyle. So for example, you can reverse type 2 diabetes. Okay, just losing weight will take you down the path of reversing type 2 diabetes. And yes, anyone can lose weight by literally just starving themselves if you don't really understand how the body works. Excuse me. So if you're on the high fat foods like the seeds, okay, that's the whole point of the seed, is because it stores fat for tomorrow. Whereas carbohydrate is the energy for now. So because we don't live in a world where we're not worrying about what foods we might or might not have tomorrow, you don't need to store lots of fat in your body, because we aren't living in at least if you're watching this in the Western world, we're not living in a time where we're worrying about what food will happen tomorrow. So you don't need to store the calorie, the metabolic calorie for tomorrow today, if that makes sense. So you can feast on high carbohydrate food and keep your fat intake low, because you don't need to store the fat on your body, because in theory you're not going to be living in famine. Okay, so those foods there, nuts and seeds, these are foods for famine. So you eat them, the fat you eat is the fat you wear that you store in your body. So if you're eating butter and cheese and chicken, all these high fat foods and milk, olive oil, vegetable oils, animal fats, animal oils, essentially what you're going to do is take that oil, okay, if you imagine that's some oil and fat, and you're going to put it under your skin like that, and you're going to store the fat on your tummy or on your hips, okay? So imagine just going around with fat stored on your tummy. You don't need to do that, okay? And it's not healthy. So hope you enjoy the video, and like and subscribe. And yeah, I always get comments, people saying, oh, you're too skinny. The point is, okay, carbohydrate doesn't make you fat. And people always say, oh, carbohydrate makes you fat. But most of the time, what the comments I always get is, well, oh, you're too skinny. Well, doesn't that prove that carbohydrate doesn't make you fat and that fat makes you fat? It really is that simple. But you're being manipulated through marketing. Okay, marketing is telling you, oh no, carbohydrate will turn to fat, but the fat you eat is only healthy fats. Whereas, well, surely if sugar is turning to fat, that's good because fats are good. Well, no, all you're being told is sugar turns to unhealthy fats, but the fat you eat is healthy fat. So if you're going down that route of sugar's bad, fat's good, because there's only healthy fats and bad fats, okay, i.e. sugar turning to bad fats, you're always going to be struggling with your weight and you're always going to be overweight. But as soon as you break free from that and realize that this right here is fat free, okay, that's fat free. This is low in fat, this banana low in fat, but it still has healthy fats. White rice, low in fat, but it still has all the healthy fats. Okay, and remember, so the fat you eat is the fat you wear. Okay, the fat you eat, if this was a blob of butter, okay, that's the fat that you put under your skin. Okay, and also when you're eating a fatty meal, a greasy fatty meal, literally hours later you'll feel the grease on your skin and in your hair. Okay, so that's where that comes from. The fat you're taking in through your mouth then comes out through your skin and your pores, and you get greasy skin and greasy hair. So the fat you eat is the fat you wear. The fat you don't eat is the fat you don't wear. And fat burns in the fires of carbohydrate. So what you need to always think about for performance in life and feeling full of energy is glucose-derived ATP. Okay, glucose-derived ATP. Not fat-derived ATP, which, yes, we can use fat, but you always need sugar for complete combustion of fatty acids. Okay, so we want to make ATP as efficiently as possible. But glycolysis is the primary energy system. Okay, so that's inefficient, but that gets the process started, process going. And also, there are cells in the human body that primarily, not even primarily, only run on sugar. So you need the mitochondria to burn fat. Okay, you need the mitochondria to burn fat. So the cells in the body that don't have mitochondria. So this is, for example, red blood cells. So red blood cells don't have mitochondria because if they did, the mitochondria did have red blood cells. If you think about it, the mitochondria would draw oxygen away from the red blood cell. And obviously the red blood cell you need to transport oxygen around the body in the blood vessels. So red blood cells don't have mitochondria because they want to take oxygen from the lungs, transport it along your blood vessels, and release it to respiring cells, where they will then take that sugar to produce ATP. And yes, you can use fat to produce ATP. And yes, you can also use protein, but primarily it's all about carbohydrate. Okay, we're carbohydrate eaters. So if you always want to be lean and healthy, low fat, low protein, high carb, always high carb. And don't be fooled by well, I see people who are on the high fat, high protein, or high fat, low carb, people losing weight. So if you go low carb and high fat, what you'll find is you'll lose water weight initially. So you'll lose water weight. So the body stores water because we store glycogen and glycogen and water go together. So carbohydrate is sugar and water. So carbohydrate, hydrated sugar. Okay, that's what carbohydrate is. It's hydrated sugar. So if you're taking away carbs, you're essentially taking away sugar and water because they go together. So to store glycogen in the muscle, where sugar is stored, chemically stored, using water to store it. Okay, so you need water and glycogen. So you take away carbs, you lose water weight, you lose glycogen weight, and you maybe lose 5-10 pounds in the first week or two, and you think, wow, this is working great. But then you'll feel tired, you'll start feeling tired, and then you're going down the route of stimulants. Like you'll suddenly realize, oh well, I need my coffee. So you'll start going, well, I'll have a single espresso in the morning, then it'll be a double espresso, and then you'll have 2 double espressos, and then in the morning you might have a double espresso, then mid-morning you might have another one, and then in the afternoon you have another double espresso. Because when you take away sugar, you introduce coffee, and I don't recommend coffee and caffeine because that's not good for your health. And I've got a video talking about that. I might put a link here, so you can check that out. There'll be a link on the screen somewhere for that. So if you always want to think about your health first, healthy people care what they put in their bodies. Okay, so I recommend a lifestyle based on cycling for losing weight. Yeah, it's great for losing weight. It's great for improving health, increasing the amount of mitochondria in your body. But primarily food. Okay, if you get the food wrong, it doesn't matter how much cycling you do. You're never going to lose weight and stay trim like you want to. Because the fat you eat is the fat you wear. And you can't burn off enough fat, okay, through cycling to keep up with the amount of fat that you're eating in your diet. So yeah, cycling is amazing for weight loss, but it's not the magic bullet or this amazing cure for being overweight, because most people I see who cycle are overweight. And there's people who cycle more than me who are 20-30 kilos heavier than me at my height. So I haven't been over 68 kilos at 5'11" for at least 5 years. At least 5 years. Before that, I don't even remember tracking my weight, but I track it now just so that I can say to people, look. So yeah, I generally have an idea of how many calories I eat and my weight, just because I need to be able to communicate and show. But if you're healthy, you don't track calories and you don't track your weight. Okay, healthy people don't track calories. Healthy people don't track their weight because they know that what they're eating is healthy and is going to make them trim and lean. Okay, so this is a complete misconception. People who count calories are not healthy. People who count calories are counting calories because they're worrying about what they're eating. Okay, so fundamentally they're doing something wrong if they're worried about their weight and their calories, because you're not eating the foods that human beings are meant to eat. So human beings are not meant to eat animal foods. Okay, these are poisons. This is the biggest poison or toxin. The biggest poison in the Western world is the food. So if you're eating chicken and fish and eggs and milk and cheese, these are all poison. Okay, and we see that because most people, so many people, and the most common disease is heart disease. This is how most people die, because they're being poisoned from high fat. So many people suffering from cancer, again, from poison from high fat. You've got kidney disease, again, poison from high protein. Okay, the answer is the food. So if you fix the food, you can stay lean and healthy all year, year after year after year, not counting calories, not measuring your weight, because you'll just see that you're always lean. So you don't need to step on the scale if you look like you're the Michelin man. So you've got big rolls of fat, okay? Not bananas, but big rolls of fat. You don't need to step on the scale to realize that you're doing something wrong. So if you're gaining weight, the more weight you're gaining, the food that you eat is poisoning you. Okay, so obesity and being overweight is a result of being poisoned by your food. So just like if you had salmonella poisoning, you would stop eating the food that is giving you the poisoning, wouldn't you? And that's how you fix it. That's how you, using the macronutrients that I recommend in the ratios that I recommend, this is how you fix always being overweight. Okay, why am I gaining weight? Why am I gaining weight? Well, because you're being poisoned by the foods. So this is how you stop the food poisoning. This is how you get healthy. This is how you lose weight sustainably. Always high carbohydrate, low fat, low protein, and you've also got high fiber as well. Lots of water. You feel good. But if you want to gain weight for whatever reason, then it's still high carb, but you increase the fat and you increase the protein. And this is how it works. It's how it's always worked, how it currently works, and how it will always work. So yeah, thank you for your time. If you got any comments or questions, put them in the comment section below. Got a bit of a dry throat now. Some orange juice there. So you got orange juice full of vitamins and minerals there. And I recommend eating unlimited amounts of the food that I recommend, which is always low fat, low protein. So yeah, I say maybe start off with at least 500 grams of carbohydrate. Essentially, this is just trying to get people to break through this fear that marketing is creating in people's minds that sugar makes you fat. When sugar is fat-free and fat is sugar-free. Okay, so fat is sugar-free, but it's fat. And sugar is fat-free. And I always get, well, if you don't exercise, lots of people are over-consuming carbohydrate, which means it turns to fat. And they never think about, well, what about the fat? So first of all, remove the high fat from your diet. Okay, that's the first thing you need to do before worrying about the macronutrients that is fat-free. I know, and I don't recommend high protein because the kidneys are going to be destroyed by high protein. So protein destroys the body, high protein destroys the body. So once you get, like most people, they probably have at least 100 grams of protein a day or more. You need to think about your kidneys, okay? The primary function of the kidneys is to excrete nitrates, okay? So the kidneys excrete nitrates into the urine, and that's how you get rid of that. So yeah, I recommend keeping protein low. So 40 to 50 grams of protein a day for most people. That's fine. Fat, for example, if you're eating foods like this, white rice, which has got half a gram of fat per 100 grams cooked, even if you ate kilos of white rice, so literally after maybe three meals a day, and you literally got a big belly, you know, full of white rice, which will go down really nicely because it's full of fiber. So it goes down and it's digested really nicely, excuse me. You literally, even filling yourself as much rice as you could, you're not going to be going over 10 grams a day to get loads of carbs, okay, for energy and ATP and always feeling full of energy. Whereas if you're eating foods that are high in fat, like the KFC, McDonald's, and other high fat animal products, to get the same equivalent amount of carbohydrate, you're going to be eating hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of grams of fat. And you probably wouldn't even be able to make up the same amount of carbohydrate, sorry. So if you wanted to eat a kilo of carbohydrate from white rice in one day, you'd be looking at what, 10 grams of fat or less? Whereas if you did that with KFC or McDonald's or chicken, you know, chicken is basically is sugar-free. Okay, so that's the opposite. You know, the animal products that have like the most sugar in is something like milk because of the lactose. Okay, that type of sugar. Whereas if you're thinking about eggs, sugar-free, meat is sugar-free. There's no carbs in it. It's just fat and protein. You know, milk, yeah, has a little bit of lactose, sugar. And how many people are intolerant to lactose as well? Because we're not meant to be eating milk. You know, it's for cows or other babies of other species. Okay. So, I hope you enjoy the video. You know, like and subscribe. How many different birds did you see? And yes, these birds here, they're taking fat and they're caching these fatty seeds around the garden. because they're worried about the future, what the future holds. In October now, winter's coming. So these birds are caching fat. So just like if you ate fatty food and you stored fat here on your belly, you don't need to, because we're not living in an age where we need to worry about famine that's coming. So if you're watching this in the Western world, you can just eat the same high carb foods all year round. You don't need to worry about that. That's the world we live in. Whether it's destroying the planet or not, that's another issue. But if you want to feast, feel like a king, eating like peasants, okay? So the foods, the rich foods that you've been told that you need to eat, the foods of the kings and the queens and the pharaohs of old, is what we're now eating. So the rich foods make people fat. So the rich, high fat, high protein foods make you fat. Whereas if you eat like a peasant, okay, and peasants are the people who've made the world go round, okay? The world has been built on the back of labor, slave labor, forced labor from people who were eating foods like white rice and beans and corn. It wasn't off the back of people who were eating deer and swans and fish, okay, and poultry. Okay, the people who were rich and had money, they're the ones who got fat and sick, had the gout and diabetes. Whereas if you always want to be lean and healthy, just think 1 billion rice eaters eat white rice, okay, in Asia. So you don't see lots of people who are fat and sick so Vietnamese, they're all thin and lean, okay, and they're not all professional athletes doing thousands of hours a week. They're just normal people, and then they're all lean because they're eating lean foods. Okay, so there's a real world example. So you don't need to do that. You don't need to store your fat for tomorrow. Just feast, okay? Feast and let your body be in feast mode, okay? So carbohydrate. And if you think you need to count calories and you're cutting calories, you're going to switch your body into famine mode. So if you're eating and then starving yourself because you think you need to count calories in versus calories out, your body will switch from, well, we don't need to store fat. So if you're eating any fat, if the body thinks that it's going into famine mode, like these birds might think it is going to happen because food availability decreases, your body will switch to storing fat because it thinks, right, famine's here, we need to store fat to save us through the winter. Whereas if you're always feasting on carbohydrate, your body doesn't get into the routine where it tells itself it needs to store fat. So that's that. So that deals with that. So calorie counting is for sick people, overweight people and healthy people, whereas you need to feast. Okay, so high carbohydrate, really 600-700 grams at least a day, low fat. You can enjoy feeling full on 10 to 20 grams of fat a day. I would say no more than that. And yeah, low protein. And you've got high fiber. And yeah, you got loads of water and fruit. So there you go. If you got any comments or questions, if I forgot anything, let me know. If you want to know any more, then just put it in the comment section. Anyway, thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.